welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our now spoiler-included, spoiler warning analysis of Disney's The Eternals. If you haven't seen it, close your ears or they will bleed from the amount of spoilers about to come at you. I think I'm just going to go ahead and give my first thoughts on and then I'm going to let Payson take it away, and then I'll dip out while he's taking it for a little bit. I'll come back in and add my own 2 cents, but I think
he'll just tell me he'll just tell me why I'm wrong.
No. Opinions can't be wrong, especially on movies. So yeah, I think this was a just generally enjoyable movie. I enjoyed the fights. I enjoyed the superpowers and the CGI. I think this is the first true flying superhero that we've had, discounting like flying via propulsion or flying via magic. His power was flight, and I think it's the first. No, because there's vision. Never mind. It was fun to see the different powers. I really enjoyed the fact that the names of the Eternals, like Icarus and Athena and Sprite, it showed where we potentially got all of our pantheons and myths and gods from all the stories that Sprite would tell, and the heroics of the different Eternals, like Phastos, Hephaestus, Icarus, the demigod who flew too close to the sun, Sprite, I guess, like sprites.
Or just like the soda.
There you go. I liked the issues that Sprite had. I liked the individual characters and how vastly different their personalities were. I thought it was funny. I thought Phastos was hilarious. How he just didn't want any part of this. He was just done with the world. I thought he brought a really funny dynamic to it. I really enjoyed the battle against Icarus at the end, because it was everyone just pulling out all the stops and just throwing everything they had at them. And we got to see, I guess, feel like their full potential. I liked how they gave a reasoning at the very end for why, I cannot remember her name now, the main female, for why she all of a sudden got a power up, because she didn't. And I liked how they gave a reasoning instead of just being like, oh, she unlocked her true potential, which has sometimes happened. I liked the animation of the deviants. I thought they were super cool. I thought the acting was cool. I didn't really pay attention to the soundtrack in this movie. I don't know why. I just didn't. It was very long. I liked that they took their time to build up the world of the Eternals and give me the lore of the Eternals, because I had no prior concept to the Eternals. Yeah, I can't think of many blatant issues that I had, because all of the issues that I would have had at my current viewpoint would just come from character flaws that were written in. Sprite being frustrated after 7,000 years that she's consigned to live as a child for her entirety, just because that's how everyone perceives her, or Icarus being the soldier, and even after 7,000 years of camaraderie, still going back on them for his mission. But that's his character. He's the soldier. Yeah, just character things that I don't like in characters, or flaws that annoy me, but that's what makes them imperfect characters. You can't have a perfect character. Other than that, I will hand off the mic to Payson, and I will let him take the stage and rip this movie a new one.
So I did think the opening text scrolling was a little weird. That's not really been done in MCU movies.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Not gonna lie, that was kind of weird. It was a different kind of story, but I didn't expect it.
Also, they also put it off center, and they put it to the left, which most movies have put it center in the scrolling. I thought the ship looks like a slab. There's no real texture to it.
So far, I'm agreeing.
Why do the ancient people from another planet speak modern day English when they were obviously doing the whole other languages, having subtext in there? It wouldn't have been a problem. In fact, I would have actually understood it. I don't know if I make this point later on, but they also all have different accents when they're all from the same place. That kind of seems a little weird.
They could have been coded with different languages. One was made with C++, one was made with Java, one was made with Python. That explains the languages.
It just seemed weird that they all had like different accents and stuff.
I'm going to look at the scrolling credits. Okay, it's centered for mine.
It's centered for yours?
Yeah.
On mine, I thought it was off. I could be wrong.
Yeah, mine is centered.
I thought they were all aligned on the left, and they were all just off on the right, instead of just having it centered. Like, I'm not talking about it taking up the full screen. I'm talking about it, they were all on the left side of the screen, like the starting point, and they were all varying length.
Oh, you're talking about
like when you're on a paragraph, Yeah, when you're on a paragraph and you go all the way across, and instead it starts on this, that way all this is aligned, and yet you have all this over here that is varying lengths. Yeah,
So it was this instead of that.
yeah, yeah.
So
Which
yeah,
would
it
have
was
looked
in the
way,
center, but it was all aligned left.
yeah, like that.
Never mind. That's what you mean. Yes. I think of it like like a book instead of a credits, but
Thought it was weird that they were not allowed to intervene, but they are the reason as to why humans have anything that we have supposedly invented. And I get like they were supposed to help us evolve faster, I guess, in our thinking skills. But it would have been cooler if they were, if anything, they were just seeing that they progressed in the right direction instead of just making them be the people that have basically done everything for us.
I was thinking, are you talking about like where he made the steam engine sort of
Yes,
thing?
he made the steam engine. I'm pretty sure he made the atomic bomb because he was crying saying, if I didn't create this technology, it wouldn't have done this or whatever.
This is like reading into it. Maybe he showed them atomic power and they made the bomb. Because I don't see him, because a bomb is blatant, but that's like reading into it. That's making assumptions for his good to put him in good light. The way they
Yeah.
made it look, he was in the aftermath of the atomic bomb, and he was the one that was there. I get what you're saying.
The suits didn't look as cool as I would have liked to have hoped. They honestly looked like a morph suit with the heads cut off and then some stuff either painted or stickered on.
That's true. They weren't flashy. They were not.
No, I think at one point where Ajax, when like they're all like starting to go and disperse, Ajax immediately says something that says, "Don't forget your place, Icarus," when he's asking a legit question. I thought that was a little bit weird, especially since at that point he already knew everything, was already on board, was kind of like her right hand man. And then he asks a legit question and she just backhands him out of nowhere.
My 2 cents on that is that I think that was used to show like where inner loyalties lied, where some people were like, I'm going to follow Icarus, and other people were like, I'm going to follow the one who was chosen.
Oh,
I'm gonna
no,
follow
no,
the strongest version.
Ajax is the first lady that's in charge, not the other one. I forget who the.
Why can't we remember her name?
But yeah, no, I just thought it was weird that Ajax got mad at Icarus when Druig was talking about leaving and everything. I just thought that was weird because that seemed out of character, like out of the blue for no reason. And
You want to know what I didn't like? I didn't like that they killed off my favorite character first.
the lady,
No, the dude.
well, she technically died first.
I don't count her. The first time that we actually see Ajax, that is not a flashback, she's dead.
Yeah, I just found that weird that Ajax got mad at Icarus for that. I first thought Druig is a tyrant when he says we could stop everything, and then just goes off and has like multiple people just follow him, and then they wrote it off later. I thought that was weird. They didn't really explain for his character, and I think they could have done that better and like shown how he changed from being that tyrant guy to being this more. He's not trying to control everybody, but he's willing to let everybody just coexist.
They could have done that more, but I feel like they also needed to show that his character was very emotional.
I also don't know why, if they were to have accents, why would they have accents of this world? But that's just
For fun. I don't fret too much over accents when it comes to aliens. In Doctor Who, again, it's a stupid explanation. In Doctor Who, like they're all English. They're all played by English actors, British actors, but the Doctor is an alien, and they're like, why do you have an accent? Like, why do you sound British? Why do you sound like you're from the North? And the response is always, lots of places have Norths. Every planet has a North. What are you talking about?
You remember that joke that what's his face makes, the Indian dude?
Which one? He makes a lot of them.
He makes a 50-year-old joke. Like, he met this guy 50 years ago. He tried to kill me because he thought I was a vampire. That makes no sense because he met me 50 years ago and thought I was a vampire. He would have just met you. How would he have thought you were a vampire? It makes sense if like he at later on thought you were a vampire, but they didn't really explain. It was poorly explained. A lot of the jokes were stale to me. But that's just me personally.
I thought it was funny.
I got what they were going for, but it wasn't good.
I think the follow-up of that joke was funnier than the actual joke.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Still not enough. We'll get there. I thought that was funnier than that. Yeah, they didn't explain that. That was just a look into his life.
If they are synthetic life forms, why do they have feelings at all?
Vision.
He doesn't quite get his right off the bat.
No,
And the only reason why he does have his is because of Jarvis, and you could argue that is due to Tony Stark.
but Jarvis is a synthetic life.
True, but they also don't quite, he doesn't quite act differently than Jarvis does until about the time when he starts falling in love with Wanda.
Yeah.
And that's when you actually start seeing personality.
I think there's human technology and then there's alien technology.
Yeah, well,
But also,
I just don't quite understand because essentially they're just meat puppets for the Celestial.
I think
So
that's how they made. That's how these Celestials are supreme beings. So I think they have the power to make them semi-sentient
yeah,
or to make them sentient.
then that leads into the next question. If they are supposed to like be these like perfect synthetic life forms for the Celestials, and there would be no reason for them not to be like peak pinnacle of perfection, why are they fat, deaf, a child, and
Or to blend in. Yeah, to blend in.
true, but especially during I get it during like times like now, but in the older times, not many people were fat.
No.
It makes sense now, but it doesn't make sense
Also,
back then. You know what I mean?
another reason they're not perfect beings is I could see it from a strategic point.
I mean, I know why they're not perfect beings in my head, but that's not according to the movie. So, because like according to the movie, I would think they'd all be somewhat like Icarus and like Cersei and somewhat like Ajax as well.
But then you got to start thinking that does not make for an interesting movie.
Well, it can if you all give them like interesting different characters and stuff.
Well, if they're all perfect beings, they're not gonna make jokes.
Well, just give them different personalities. Like there's a way to work around that instead of just doing what they did. You know what I'm saying? Or do you?
Sort of, yeah.
Because like I mean, one of the more interesting things about something similar to that is Clone Wars. More specifically, I had read Republic Commandos, which is about a group of commando clones that should all relatively be the same because they were all trained by the same guy, everything. They're all clones of Jango Fett, and yet they all have differing, very differing personalities to each other, which makes for interesting banter all the way through. And that is also can be seen in the Republic Commando games.
Gotcha.
I think it's kind of lazy writing, but I don't know enough about writing. So
I think it's different from the writing you would have gone for.
when they make the joke about when he says he's not Superman, he wears a cape, should I call you Clark? Does that mean DC is in MCU?
That is a good point. I didn't think of that.
I also thought it was weird that they love these people so much. At least Cersei did. She loves these people so much that she wouldn't mind having them kill each other for thousands of years. I just never understood like that being her character. I understood it more so with Druid, but Cersei is the one that barely did anything, whereas Druid at least got fed up with it at some point. And Thena's brain actually broke doing the thing. So you can make an argument for those two, but not so much Cersei.
Hold on. That's not why Thena's brain broke.
I thought it was like her brain broke because like she had gone under this whole. I thought that's why they explained it was her brain broke because she had gone under so much stress of watching these people kill themselves over and over.
That was a lie.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Because it can't be a disease.
No, so what they were saying is that she lived so long that the weight of her memories was crushing her brain. No, what happened, I believe they explained this. Maybe they didn't do it strongly enough, I guess is what you're saying now.
Yeah, because I completely forgot about that. Yeah, they really didn't do it strong enough.
This is not their first planet.
I get that part, but I just completely forgot about Thena, the whole thing, and that is apparently a big part of the plot. So I mean, there's a lot of this movie that you can just forget.
Yeah. So what happened was the memories from when they destroyed another planet, a previous planet, came back, or was seeping through. That's what happened.
But I mean, they still played it off as that's the reason why her brain kind of shattered in a sense.
Yeah, because
at least at the beginning. So
because it is inferred that the Celestials wiped the memory to curb insurrection.
I gotta say, when Druid supposedly died by the hand of Icarus, what was that scream?
I don't remember clearly enough.
When the deaf lady screams.
Oh,
the deaf flag.
Yeah, no, that made sense.
I know it made sense, but it was just like, it was weird and it pulled me out of the movie way faster than any of this other stuff did. It sounded weird. I get why she screamed like that. I just think as a movie perspective, that was probably not the right call.
I disagree. That helped me stay in the movie more.
Okay.
Because otherwise it would have made her deafness less authentic.
Okay, I get that.
Because if you're fully deaf, then you don't, the only sensation that you have of your voice is the vibrations it makes. So you've never had experience learning whether to talk like this or to talk like that. So they do not know how to use their vocal box whatsoever. So it's just because they don't know, they've never had, they don't have the sensory feedback of hearing to be able to adjust their own voice as they grow and develop.
I also think if you're a celestial and you know you're going to send out this team, wouldn't the deaf person kind of be somewhat a hindrance? Because you've also got, because what if they're busy and you got to tell them something? They're not going to hear you and you can't use your hands, or they don't see you. You get what I'm saying? And it's not
From a,
like they have earpieces and stuff. So it's just,
from a strategic point, yes, that does make sense.
there's a point at the movie where Faustus and Icarus are fighting. And when Faustus says, I've been waiting for this a long time, there was no beef previous established between the two. So I didn't quite get that scene.
I didn't really care about that. Icarus is a cocky SOB. I can understand why people would
I mean,
knock him down.
he really wasn't.
You're right. He was not cocky. He was very self-righteous.
I don't know if I'd say he was self-righteous. I think he was more of, I'm just following orders. This has nothing against you.
He was also very, yeah. I could see him being very abrasive with his demeanor when everyone else is having somewhat like human emotional reactions. He's the one who's like, it's for the mission. That would piss me off. Well, especially I was the guy that created the atom bomb, and then him just going, it was for the mission. Like
well, to be fair, I don't think he said that when that happened.
You're right. They did not set it up. They did not set up any beef, but also I can understand where it would come from. They just didn't set it up.
Well, also that, and he doesn't quite know the mission at that point anyway. So
who, Icarus?
No, Faustus.
Faustus, yeah, he doesn't know.
I thought the Deviant's death by Thena was kind of pathetic. I thought it was a very pathetic death.
I didn't have any issues with it.
I mean, he doesn't die in any grandeur way. He just, like, all of a sudden just dies. And I thought,
for how much trouble he caused, are you saying you would assume they would drag that out a little bit more?
I thought they would have, yeah. Instead, he just flat out dies. And I mean, in the comics, it's very different, because in the comics, there's the cavemen, and the Celestials come down to Earth and mess with our genes, and they create humans, deviants, and Eternals. Now, deviants look a lot different than they do here. Deviants look like humanoid beast hybrids, or they look like deformed humanoids, whereas Eternals look like humans. And both of them, both the deviants and the Eternals, have powers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the whole how they came to be. Yeah, I just thought the death was pathetic. And considering at that point he looked more like a deviant than he previously did, with the 4 eyes and the vines and stuff. Yeah, he looked more like a comics book deviant.
I will say this as an argument.
And he did look cooler to me. So
I will say as an argument, I would bet a good 95% of the people that watch this movie have not even held an Eternals comic.
I get that, but my point to that point is comic books are a visual art form. And if you're not going to respect the source material, you're going to piss off. One, if you don't respect the source material and you don't adhere to what has been created, then it is not anything about that. It is only that by name. And that's just, at that point, just create your own thing. Cause that's not, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not your.
I do see what you're saying, but this is, I think, where you and I have the biggest disagreements, because once it's passed off to a new creator, they don't got to do crap about the old stuff. It is now their thing and they can do what they want with it. And that goes for movie adaptations.
But it's not their creation.
It doesn't matter. It's under their property. It's under their control now. They own it.
That is something we're going to disagree on.
It's fine. But like if I built a house, I built it with my hands, I designed it, I built it, and then I sold it off to someone.
Yeah.
They can make new additions, tear down walls. They can do whatever they want. I no longer have legal control over it.
Okay. However, this is different than a house,
because
this is more like a museum where everybody has gone to go see. A lot of people have cherished moments in there. Some people have even become fanatics about the museum. and then people just
Then
go
they
in
can enjoy
and
the old stuff.
what I'm saying is I see it more as it's some I don't know how to put it other than we're gonna disagree. So
Yes.
at that
Another
point we are two sides of a different coin. Let's just
another thing is I think the more obscure they start pulling from, the more they have creative liberty. If it was a widely well-known thing, they're going to get a lot more public backlash. But the more obscure it gets and the more lesser well-known teams or heroes or characters they delve into, the less people are going to care, because the less people are just going to even know the original material. Is just a separate perspective.
I would
Like,
say
and I'd only ever heard of the name Eternals before. I didn't know
on that we would very much disagree, sir. How were Icarus and Sprite included in the Unimind with no bracelets? And they honestly did not explain that at all.
Yes
They
and
just
no.
said it. They just
That
said
wasn't
it
a Unimind.
and addressed it and then moved on.
That wasn't the Unimind.
Yes, it was. Well, kind
It
of was.
looked a heck of a lot like the Unimind, but they briefly explained it and then pushed it off at the end, where they said, I always wondered how we survived. We were connected with the birthing celestial.
I know, but they weren't connected with. Okay, but if that's the case, then shouldn't they have also been connected to the Indian dude who had left as well? So shouldn't there have been another thing coming across the earth?
There should have, but I can't see it actually being the Unimind because Sprite and Icarus didn't have the bracelets. I'm saying that them saying it was them connected to the Celestials was there trying to explain what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was well written. That
No.
saying.
I think Icarus should have done a better job in the fight than he did. And even then, when he had the opportunity to kill Cersei, he didn't have to go kill her. He could have just grabbed her and moved her up away from the Celestial.
I thought it was Druig.
No. When Icarus is trying to kill, Icarus has got the eyes laser beams, and he was trying to.
But when he got to Cersei, when she was already hands on the Celestial, his eyes did the sheen, the little like window like wipe that happens when Druig controls someone.
Well, that didn't stop him from grabbing her and flying up.
From what I understood was that Druig's power was memory manipulation. He could control what people are seeing in their mind. Could be wrong. That's
I also didn't think it was Druig, but I thought it was just him halting himself because of his love for her, I guess.
I thought it was Druig bringing up all the fond memories.
I have no idea.
Well, I don't either. If that's what really happened, they should have showed Druig doing that. All I saw was the little glow that came across his eyes.
Well, I saw the glow like he was about to and then would stop and he couldn't bring himself to do it, which at that point I'm just like, grab her and go up, or grab her and move her out. Like
I get that. Yes, I understand that.
I did appreciate though how the Indian guy understood the reasoning for it and said, hey, I'm not going to stop you guys from trying to prevent this from happening, but I am not going to partake in trying to kill a celestial.
Yeah,
which I did appreciate, like them showing a different opinion.
Yeah,
not completely vilifying the dude. So
that was nice. That was nice showing it was not just against or for. They showed a different side.
I will give credit where credit is due for that. Why I don't get why Icarus killed himself. I think that was dumb.
I was gonna say we don't know that for sure, but he did fly into the sun.
And it seems like he did. Also, I found it weird because Sprite did not say she wanted to be a human and die like them. She just wanted to look like an adult like the rest of them, which was essentially her whole plea, because her whole thing was she was treated as a child because she looked like a child. If she looked like an adult, she would be treated like an adult.
I think the word she used was, I want to grow up.
Yes. I think she really wants to just be an adult like the rest of them, which is honestly what it seemed like she was trying to portray.
Yes, that was the message I was getting throughout the entire movie.
So I thought that was a little weird that they deliberately decided not to do that route.
I
get why they did it, because they wanted to explain why the actress will age up.
I didn't think about that
in the next movie. So I get why they needed that explanation, but you need to kind of like, it needs to make sense. Whereas that one, it was kind of just like somewhat shoehorned in. Like there was a reasoning behind it, but it was also kind of shoehorned in to make it somewhat feel authentic. So
that is a good reason. Yeah. I do have a question Do you think that you nitpick at movies? Not just this one, but just like, I'll put it another way. I nitpick at character writing because I don't like the flaws that characters have, even though I recognize that the flaws that they have make them more relatable. But that's why I'm like, I don't like that Batman doesn't kill and stuff like that. Like, that's what makes him Batman. Do you think you do that with movies just to find like,
I do that more so with movies when I get pulled out of them so easy, and I try to figure out why I got pulled out of them so easy.
gotcha.
Because I did that with, let's see, I think I started that with, I think, Force Awakens, and I liked Force Awakens, but I think as soon as I got out of the theater, I told my brother Ethan, this thing has no substance at all and is relying solely on the next film.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then the next film bombed, and then I was trying to figure out why it sucked so badly.
Gotcha. Okay. Because
So
some of the
you,
points that you've brought up are just like, well, it doesn't matter that much, but I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
like,
If you get pulled out of a movie, if something
I'm
in the
trying to
movie
figure out
stops you from
why.
enjoying it, I get
So
it. I get it.
Faustus, as a parent or whatever, with the whole gay thing, I applaud the actors because they tried their best to make that look somewhat authentic, and it did not look authentic at all.
I thought it did.
No, like on especially the kiss scene, it looked so weird. Like I applaud the actors; they tried their best,
I thought it
but
looked fine.
it did not flow well, at least to me. So
I thought it
um,
looked normal.
mid credit scene, they confirmed Thanos is somewhat related to an Eternal with Star Fox. So it is bullcrap because they should have intervened because that is one of their own killing a population. I mean, that's the way it seems to be. And in the comics, Thanos is a son of an Eternal and a Deviant.
Gotcha. I
The
like
blueprints were there.
as far as the movies go, we do not know Thanos's origins other than he is an Eternal, or he is a Titan.
He has some relation with the Eternals because I mean, Star Fox shows up with the silver or the golden orb thing with Pip
I mean,
and claims that he's Thanos' brother. Now I don't know how they're going to do that, but
like I was
originally
saying,
before this, they had also said that Thanos was half deviant, half eternal on the MCU website, I believe,
I was gonna say
before they like completely got rid
as
of
far
it.
as
So
as far as the movies go, we do not know where Thanos came from. All we know is he's a Titan. As far as the movies go,
I mean, we don't know, but they kind of hinted towards it. And if that's the way they're going to hint towards it, that makes me think, okay, this is bogus now. You're unwriting your rules that you had previously stated. I just think it's kind of weird.
hold on, no, they addressed it in the movie. Like the why didn't you help with Thanos?
Well, they addressed it because they said they're not allowed to interfere with anything that has nothing to do with deviants or Eternals because they do stop Icarus from trying to help. If that's the case, Thanos is an Eternal or a Deviant or both. So in that case, they should have intervened.
That's assuming they would know that they knew, because as far as even Ajax and Icarus are concerned, they like I don't know where they would have gotten that intel unless Arishem specifically said, hey yo, he's half
Well, I wouldn't see why he wouldn't because he's head of the Eternals. I would think he would be the one that would go, hey, one of my Eternals has gone rogue, go get him, and is heading towards this place and is going to completely mess up everything I have been striving for. So I wouldn't see why that wouldn't happen. So this creates
again,
somewhat of a plot hole.
Again, they haven't actually gone into it. They haven't actually.
No, this is just me speculating.
Yeah.
And saying there could be a big error going forward if they don't do this right. And so far, possibly, it doesn't seem like they're doing it right yet.
The only way I would see it being okay is if they're going off of the assumption that they just do not know his origin. And that would also go either that Arishem did not tell them, didn't think it was necessary to tell them, or just didn't like. It's like I was not under the assumption watching the movie that he is omnipotent. Sorry, Yeah, Arishem. I wasn't under the impression that he knew what was going down on Earth.
No, but he would. But I guess on that Eternal Squad, if Thanos is supposedly on an Eternal Squad, which I would think so, considering that Star Fox says he's his brother, and if
Mhm.
Star Fox is an Eternal, then Thanos is also an Eternal. I would think that one of them would speak to Arishem and then relay that back, saying to the group on Earth that one is
Yes.
coming that way. So,
But that's also assuming brother is literal.
well, even if it's figurative, like the Eternals kind of consider themselves a family.
No, I mean like eternal as in brother. What if he's just a Titan that joined in on the fight against deviants because he's just that strong?
He very well could have. However, that doesn't explain why him and Star Fox look so different. So they need
No,
to.
that's what I was saying. That's why it would explain why him and Star Fox look so different.
They got to play this carefully. So
Yes. I'm just offering up another
yeah,
potential.
I'm showing the holes you're trying to say. Well, this is how they might not make that hole.
Build them. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought,
I,
I will say, I thought Dane as Black Knight at the end of the movie was very underwhelming, considering that he didn't show any superheroism at all, which I would have liked to have seen some to give me the suspense of, okay, this guy is gonna go forward in his own right. Instead, they just showed him as, I think the only thing they showed as him was a joke when he was about to go over the fence, like Sprite and Cersei did. And he's like, I'm gonna go take the stairs. So I mean,
again,
it would have been great to at least seen him somewhat show some heroism in his own right, and then have that follow up be like, okay, I can see that working. Instead, it just feels like it's there, like no substance. It's just there.
so I'll take that and add that one. I mean, like this movie, I don't see that. Like, I don't understand why they would make it about his introduction. I
Oh,
would
so in the comics,
like
I believe.
I if they had introduced it more, I would have felt like it was taking away from the Eternals in their spotlight in their movie. But my main point is I know nothing about Black Knight.
Mhm.
However, by the way they set it up, it seems like it's a symbiote effect where like Eddie Brock, the only thing he had going for him was that he had muscles, and then symbiote is what gave him the power. The sword is what I'm assuming is going to give him all his power, and it's more of like a lineage thing. And he is a reluctant hero. Like, he doesn't have the chops for it, but he was born into it, so he has to grow for it. Is what kind of hero I could see him being.
I think in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, he is actually the second Black Knight. The first Black Knight is his uncle, who was a villain. His uncle dies in his arms, and he finds out about his uncle's past, and his uncle is on his deathbed and basically tells Dane to take up the mantle, but not to be like him. Or he says to be like him, and then Dane decides, no, I'm going to do it for good. But essentially, I believe the sword does give him some power. I believe he's also very proficient in different fighting styles and other stuff as of that nature. It depends on what they do with the character. Because,
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't quite throw that out the window per se, but they didn't exactly state this is what we're doing with this guy.
I appreciate the teaser. I'm glad they didn't try to push it on us. I appreciate the introduction of Star Fox. Again, know nothing about the dude, but I am looking forward to see how Harry Styles does acting as a superhero. I am eager to see how that plays out. And that is not a positive eager or a negative eager. I'm just very interested to see how that's going to go.
I thought it was weird that Ajax was apparently cool with the death of millions until out of nowhere she changes her mind, and we are supposed to be mad at Icarus for staying the course like he was told to from the very beginning. I just thought that was weird and out of the blue.
I don't think it was out of the blue.
It just happens flippantly. Like, she apparently knew all this time, and then just towards the point where they're about to go forward with the plan, she decides not to. After she had already told him and somewhat groomed him to thinking this is the way this has got to go down, and then she decides to change her mind.
So I remember a conversation Ajax had with Arishem earlier, like, but way before, where there was like, there's something special with this planet. I don't know what, but are you sure this planet is special? These people are special. He's like, yeah, follow the plan. So I think her inner turmoil was growing for centuries, but she had to stay quiet, both because she was the leader and because nobody else knew other than Icarus, who was a steadfast follower. And it would look bad as a leader, but once they disbanded, she no longer had this mantle of leader that kept her in check. And then eventually, as the plan got closer, it weighed heavier and heavier until she just was like, I can't do this anymore. And then Icarus came over. She's like, I can't do this. We can't do this. That is how I feel like they would have intended it.
I will say a few notes to that. He said at that point, I believe when she does ask that, it is at Babylon, and that's when Icarus said that's when Ajax told him. Since Erisham, as you've said, is not this omniscient being, she could have easily said this is what she could have either easily just lied to him if that was her true intentions, because it does make it seem like at that house or whatever that she is now telling him that they are now changing the plan. As she said, she was inspired by the heroes of this earth for bringing all the people back from Thanos. So I just think that it was weird at that change in character really quick when they were already kind of somewhat establishing that character. I'm just saying there's two different Ajax, and that messes me up. That's all I'm saying, is that there's two different Ajax and they don't quite connect at any point. They do connect on some levels, but not completely, and that's the problem I have.
You're right. The leader Ajax we see is much different than the we got to save everyone Ajax that we see at death. I guess.
And I'm pretty sure if she would have somewhat explained it to Icarus at first, she would have been able to slowly tell him, as he would have been the stubborn, hard-headed kind of guy. Like, you got to stick with the plan, you got to follow the plan kind of guy. So it would have made sense from that perspective if she was to change her mind and slowly just do it behind Erisham's back, but she doesn't. So she automatically just creates this automatic stab in the back for what is bound to happen. And they seem to still be going through with it as Icarus leaves Cersei because he can't tell her that that's what they're going to do. And if they were to change the plan, why didn't she just tell him so that way he wasn't going to do that? So I mean, it's plot holes is what I'm saying.
I don't think she was planning on changing the plan. I don't think it was a gradual, like, I'm thinking about it. Like, it was more of a, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? And all of a sudden, no, it's not right. I need to change it before it's too late. But like, that's not written out. It's not detailed out. That wasn't shown.
That's something we're just speculating at this point.
I agree with you in a lot of the points you made. I think really when I'm watching a movie, I think I try to see what they intend for me to see, not what they gave me exactly. Whereas I think you're more of a viewer who wants it put out correctly. Like, if this is what they meant, this is what they should have done instead of infer. But I'm not disagreeing. It just didn't distract from my viewing. I enjoyed it overall. And for you, you got pulled out early and then picked at it the entire time because you're like, I'm not enjoying this anymore.
I'm bored, might as well do something. One of the things I didn't quite understand was I don't get how they were able to go find each of the other Eternals when they weren't using the ship at all. You can't even say Faustus because
it wasn't even that. I mean, they even said in the beginning when they're like, "Oh, let's find the others." They were like, "I haven't been in contact with him for centuries."
Yeah, so the only one that really knew was Ajax.
That in Icarus, because at one
point.
But
I mean, like, even
they
then
they brought up no. Because even with that, it doesn't.
They only brought up Cersei and Sprite because one Icarus
and then they
was
brought
in love
up
with
what was it? Geralt or whatever his name was.
Gilgamesh.
Started with the G.
I mean, that one makes sense because he was taking care
of
what's her name
to sleep.
Which is another thing I don't quite get is why Athena had all these messed up brain problems, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I get like it's because of what happened to her and because of all the repression, but she should still technically have all like the psychopath coming out every now and then still, because that just because of that revelation that it's all past memories doesn't affect that it's still a problem.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's like
Honestly, I don't get what they were trying to use with
I
that.
mean, like
I
I
guess
get like
it
it
was
was like
just the
sort of like
fact of
some, yeah,
trying not to have her, because she was technically the only otherable character that was on par with Icarus.
yeah.
So
And
they didn't want,
I was expecting her at some point to go berserk and just start attacking everybody,
yeah, and I
giving
guess they
Icarus
just
the
didn't
leg
want
up in the fight.
her to
I also
just
think
fight
Icarus should have
Icarus
just,
one on one without any restrictions.
yeah. I also
So
think
that,
Icarus should have just been like easily just thrown everybody away more so than because it took him like a while before he even got to the points. I also said Dane as Black Knight is kind of underwhelming. Dane Whitman as Black Knight, like I get like it's comic book. They even had that bit where like he had to go talk to his uncle, which is actually somewhat comic book accurate, but it's just very underwhelming because the only times you see him, it's very small and it's mostly played off as a joke.
to be honest, I,
So
and even at the ending when they brought in everything, I was like, I just don't get it.
like I don't see him as Black Knight.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It
Yeah.
just seems,
Out of blue, just came out of nowhere.
yeah, unless they manage to make it work, but I just don't understand why it's relevant that they need him. It would
Yeah.
be cool to see him, but I just don't see it being relevant.
And then I brought up like most of the characters are race changed or sex changed to some extent. I think actually
Honestly,
almost all
to
of them
the
except
extent,
for Icarus and maybe Thena.
yeah,
Maybe Thena. I'm not
honestly,
sure, but I
to
think
the
most of them
extent
are.
making it so that they're different races in a way would kind of make sense since they're going from culture to culture in the beginning, teaching people.
Hmm. But to
So
some
technically,
extent, but not.
yeah. So in a way, I can understand it and accept it to the fact that in a way, if you think about it, you just get like one people from each culture and make them an eternal. So I can accept it for that fact. At least they didn't like sex change any of the characters or anything like that.
No, it did.
Which ones?
Makari is a guy in the comics. Ajak is a guy in the
What?
comics.
I
I think
forgot it. Yeah.
Thena is. I think Thena is a girl. No, Thena is a
No,
girl.
Thena's
They
yeah,
sex
Thena's a
changed
girl.
Sprite. I think they race changed.
No, I thought
Can you?
I thought Sprite was a girl.
No,
I don't
Sprite's
know.
a guy. I'm pretty sure. Sprite's a guy.
I
It's still a
didn't look.
kid. It's still a kid, but it's a
I
guy.
don't know enough about the characters. I haven't read any of the comic books or anything.
Well, I knew
I
they
just
did to
know
some. I just didn't know which ones, so I went into looking into it.
that, and I just don't see because Icarus is supposed to be the strongest, and from what I've understood with the comic books, he's one of the main characters, focal
Mhm.
points, and then he just goes and commits suicide at the end.
Yeah, that's
I
one thing I didn't quite get either. Icarus
honestly,
committed
in a way,
suicide.
I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, ah, I get it. He flew too close to the sun.
Well,
Haha.
they
But I
actually
was
kind of
like,
ruined the meaning of him getting that name too. I found this out today. So apparently, the reason why he's called Icarus is that he had a son named Icarus, who the other Eternals gave him like metal wings to help him fly with his father. Usually, when Eternals have kids, they're more than off like 90% human. Most of them
yeah,
end up human. There's a small chance that they become Eternals, but it's few and far between. So
yeah, because originally there were only 100. And
and
honestly,
so
with the fact, from what I was reading, even if an Eternal is killed, they can still be brought back to life.
yeah, there was a machine that Faustus created, but I believe that machine ended up. I think they knocked that machine off or something. So I don't remember exactly. It felt like more so that they were given like the bare minimum of what the Eternals were about, and then just said, "Yeah, let's roll with that and make our own thing because we don't want to adhere to whatever came
I
before us."
mean, I understand like there's not much to go off of the Eternals, but there's
Mhm.
enough to make a
At
origin
least
story,
yeah, at least to make like a
a
foundation for
accurate
what you
first
want
movie.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm a big fan of Jack Kirby, so a lot of this pissed me off, which is why I was very excited to actually see like a Dark Side, Granny Goodness, all characters
Mhm.
from Jack Kirby in the Snyder's Justice League. So these guys are essentially new guys. So it just felt like they were not as powerful as new guys should have been, if that made
Well,
sense.
the thing is, from what I saw, was they are supposed to be able to control, they all have the same powers, but they specialize in one specific one, and
Hmm.
that's what they use most of the time. So pretty much all of them could heal each other. I mean, it just wouldn't be as good, but still it would be effective.
No, I'd be thinking too much into it. So
They all have. I mean, they're all pretty much the identical.
I know,
It's
well,
just
that,
they
and
all.
they're supposed to be like meat puppets, so it doesn't really, sometimes they act like meat puppets, other times they just, all of a sudden they'll display feelings and it doesn't make any, it just doesn't add up. And then I think the thing that pissed me off the most was like Ajax knew the whole time and then told Icarus in Babylon. Now, if that's the case, wouldn't she have told, if she was thinking about, and this is what I brought up with Andrew, is if that's the case that she was thinking about betraying him this whole time, wouldn't she have told him what her plan was to prevent that from happening instead of telling him Arisham's plan?
Mm-hmm.
And it made it seem like at the end, like she all of a sudden just changed her mind without actually showing us her actually changing her mind. And so it made Icarus out to be the bad guy when he was just doing what she had previously told him to do. So
Yeah, honestly, I didn't like that. That was really just disappointing.
I was also thinking, how come it took this long for at all for one of them to die? Yeah, because I mean, like there must have been some points where they were very overwhelmed. Like
I
at
mean,
some
the
points
thing
where
is,
one of them
Ajax.
might have been very overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
also don't know how far Ajax can go in healing. Like, can she bring people back from the dead? Like, I don't
Well,
know
that's
about
a
that.
fair point. We didn't get to see that, but apparently her healing was extremely powerful nonetheless. But yeah, like with some of them and their abilities, I'm like 100%. I don't see how you would be able to do combat and not take a hit.
They confirmed Thanos is an Eternal at the end with the addition to Star Fox, or
Mm-hmm.
at least somewhat related to him in some fashion. So the Eternals should have intervened during the blip.
Yeah, because honestly, I don't, unless they all got blipped, but it didn't seem like that.
No, it doesn't seem, well, they're synthetic beings, so their lives aren't necessarily,
A fair point.
so they should have intervened.
So yeah, it did, no, yeah, because they even talk about the Avengers that did survive the blip, did a good job processing everything, and they showed the most growth. And I'm like, so yeah, they were alive during the blip. But yeah, no, because I thought Thanos is usually a deviant.
No, no, he's a son of an Eternal and a Deviant.
Oh, a son of, okay.
Yeah, that's
Because
what
I
it
thought
comes in.
I thought that's why they were gonna come in because
Well, actually, no, they actually had that on the MCU page or something, that Thanos was the son of an Eternal and a Deviant, like they had him in the comics.
okay.
And then they decided to change it, probably because of this movie,
Oh,
because
okay.
it would have made no sense otherwise, because it doesn't seem like they can produce at all.
The deviants?
No, the
Oh, Eternals.
Eternals. Yeah, I don't think the
Yeah.
Deviants can either. But Deviants were kind of messed up from the beginning. They weren't really as good as they could have been. And the one time I thought they were actually coming through with actually being good. And then the one Deviant that died in such
Oh,
an
the boss?
underwhelming way. Yeah, the
Yeah.
head Deviant, I guess.
I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, maybe she'll break out and then she'll like gain full control and she'll just like it'll be this really cool fight and oh, it's over already? I was so disappointed.
I got one last thing that I
Okay.
thought of. I think I thought of this as I was talking to Andrew and I couldn't bring it up to him.
Okay.
But one of the things I did think of was if they were trying to make sure that the humans didn't die on Earth, and they were making sure that Tiamat didn't die as he was getting birthed from the Earth, I guess.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been easier for Cersei to use her power to materialize everything except for a few platforms into air, and then Druig, because Druig said he could do it, control every mind in the world and make it so that way nobody's going crazy about world going
Well,
nowhere, and
the
then
the thing,
Tiamat pulling out, and then everything, her putting the whole world back together in the same spot.
I mean, yes, but we also
I
have
mean,
to
that's
think
possible.
that
It's one
yeah,
thought, but it's just they didn't even
we
think
also have
anything
to think
else.
yeah, we also have to think that apparently she didn't even know how to use her ability properly until the very end of the movie.
Well, no, what she said was she said she couldn't do it on sentient life forms, but it appears
Fair
that
enough.
when she was
Especially when they
connected
created the
to
Unimind.
Tiamat, I don't get life in this movie in general, but especially when they connected with Tiamat,
Tiamat.
I don't know what his name is. It's
Tiamat.
Tiamut. That's all I know. So
Okay.
when they connected with the dude, he apparently gave them more power to
Amplified
kill them.
power,
Yeah.
which I'm like, doesn't make sense when he 100% could have just defended himself.
And
But
also, he's
okay.
been there the whole time. How does that? It's different because he's been there the whole time. So when you've been experiencing these surges over the course of time, instead of just all at once when he's about to emerge, because he essentially is the Earth. Ugh. Some parts of this movie I don't get, but
Especially first, I just don't understand how
also
you can.
if they also don't explain why Sprite and Icarus were able to connect with in the Unimind when Cersei had it. And me and Andrew kind of talked about this a little later because he
Yeah,
said
well,
that wasn't the Unimind. And then I was like, well, if that was the case, shouldn't the Kingo, I think is his name, shouldn't he have also been connected in it as well, even though he left? He was still on Earth, so shouldn't
well,
he
the
have
thing,
still been
yeah, the
connected?
thing was, I get Sprite because with the Unimind, after they knocked Sprite unconscious, they put
Mhm,
a band on her. But with Icarus, Icarus never got that band or
mhm.
anything, unless
Yeah,
they just had hit on during the fight when what's his name like put him in like a prison.
Faustus. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think, yeah, that he might have, but they also said that in the thing that Sprite and Icarus didn't have him on, and they were still connected. So
yeah.
I
I
don't get
mean,
that.
I could have sworn I remember them seeing them put one on Sprite.
I don't remember seeing that, but
I would have to like rewatch that scene, but I think they did, or they just tied her up or whatever.
yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
No, I think Druid just knocked her unconscious, and that was it.
Yeah, most underrated, overpowered character.
Who, Druid or Sprite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really both,
I
honestly.
mean, what I feel like Sprite got gypped in this movie because she wanted to look like an adult, essentially, like the rest of them. And she didn't want to lose her power, or it didn't seem like she actually wanted to lose her power or her
Yeah, that honestly, when it's like,
immortality.
oh, I can make you a human, and I'm like, what? Why don't you
She
just
didn't
make
ever
her
want that.
older?
She just wanted to be older like you guys.
I
She
was
just
like,
wanted to look older like the rest of you.
why not just make her older so that she doesn't look like a kid?
And I was just like, well, part of that to me is like, I get why they did that. And it was mainly because they wanted to explain her aging or whatever. And I'm pretty sure next movie she's going to get her powers back if she's in the cast. That's without a doubt.
Honestly, yeah, if she, because the only
I think
two that it
there's no
seemed
doubt.
that didn't get brought was Sprite and whatever his name is, the one that took her, the one with the guns, finger guns,
Finger
whatever his
guns,
name is.
Kingo, I think is his name.
Kingo, yeah. It
I had to
didn't
go
look
look
like
it up because
Kingo
I
was,
couldn't remember any
yeah,
of that.
it didn't look like Kingo got taken by the Celestial.
No, he did.
Was he?
He, Cersei, and Faustus were the only three left,
Okay.
and Sprite was no longer an eternal.
Yeah, but
So
still, I would think that he would take her. In that, and why didn't he go after and get the other three? It just didn't
probably
make.
because me not thinking here, but I think that's just because they were the ones that were on Earth with a dead
Yeah,
Tiamat right there. So he's gonna
but
blame them
still,
first.
I mean, but still, apparently he sees all. He already knew everything that was going on.
If that was the case, then okay, I don't get this movie at all. Why didn't he stop him when Tiamat was coming up? If all he
I
could
don't
do was
know.
just get there. I mean, he's dying. Help a brother out, like literally.
Yeah, apparently he's your son, quote unquote. Like,
We're not getting anywhere with this. So
no. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our review of the Eternals. Tune in next week when we do. I just went blank. I'm choosing a movie and I can't even remember what I just chose. Hold on.
Uncharted, I'm pretty sure is what you just chose.
You heard Payson. I chose Uncharted. I'm gonna believe him 110% about that. So join us next week when. Oh no, my computer. Keep this all in. Keep my disappointment in. Join
I'm
us
like,
next week for Uncharted. Goodbye.